friends, welcome back to the Photoshop Basics for Scrapbooking class. After last week's lesson where we talked about layer templates, what are they and how to use them, today we're going to go one step further and I'm going to show you how you can actually create your own customized layer templates to use for yourself. There are so many reasons why you might want to do this. The number one reason is if you are using the same template for photos week after week after week, say in Project Life, or in a grid layout notebook, these can significantly reduce the amount of time it takes you to select and put your photos into the pages. If you create these layer templates yourself for any customized page you want to make, then this is going to really help you make your process much quicker in the future. So let's go over to the computer and I'm going to show you how to make your own layer templates in both Photoshop Creative Cloud and Photoshop Elements, and talk a little bit more about why this is something that you might want to do moving forward. Welcome back over here to my desktop, friends. We are starting inside of Photoshop Creative Cloud today, and I am so excited to show you how to create your very own customized layer templates. As we talked about before, layer templates are a way of making digital scrapbooking and specifically printing out photos at really customized sizes so much easier. These can be a total time saver and lifesaver when it comes to scrapbooking. And I hope to show you today that they are not as difficult as you might think to create for your own needs. So we are going to start by opening up a new canvas. I am going to create a layer template for a traveler's notebook. So I want my dimensions to be a double page traveler's notebook. They're normally 4 1/4 by 8 1/4. So I'm going to make mine, they're going to be 8.5 inches wide by 8 1/4 inches tall. So here is my double page traveler's notebook spread. Now, the next thing I want to do is add my guideline into the middle so I can see the two separate sides of my layout. Then what I want to do is create a photo collage that's going to go on the left side that will have area for 4 different photos. And then on the right side, I'm going to create 4 sections for journaling and then a spot where I can add in a 1-inch circle embellishment to act as a bullet point or a starter for those different blocks of text. So let's start with the left side where we're going to be putting 4 photos in a collage. Because this page is 4 1/4 inches wide by 8 1/4 inches tall, I know that each section, if I were to divide this in half, would be 2.125, which I don't think I'm going to be able to get exactly there, by 4.125. So this is not quite where I want you to be, but it's going to be close enough. So these sections are 2.125 by 4.125. I like to have a little bit of white space in between my photos when I'm collaging them. There's just something about that makes it look more finished for me. So in these sections, I want my photos to actually be sized at 2 inches wide by 4 inches tall. So I'm going to come over to my rectangle shape tool here and select it, and then click in the middle of my screen to create a 2-inch by 4-inch rectangle. Then I'm going to move this into the middle-ish area of my upper section here. I think that looks good. And we're going to leave it there. Now, with the rectangle selected, I'm going to copy it and paste it in order to create a few more of these, trying to keep them as evenly spaced as I can. All right, and then I'm going to go ahead and grab the top two rectangles, copy them, paste them, and we're going to move the second set here down below. Again, just trying to keep these evenly spaced. Very good. So now I'm going to get rid of this guideline in the middle and get rid of the guideline in the middle of those. So now I've got this photo collage here. I can go ahead and select one row at a time and make sure that they are evenly spaced. It looks like they are right now though. And same here. Yeah, I think we've done pretty darn well. Okay, so my collage is good to go. So I've got photo 1, photo 2, photo 3, and photo 4. Now on the right hand side here is where I want to put my 4 boxes of text and my 4 circle embellishments. So let's start with those circle embellishments. I'm going to change my shape after I am not selected on the rectangle anymore. I'm going to change my shape to an ellipse tool and go ahead and click in the middle of my screen. Then I can create my dimensions. So this is going to be a 1-inch circle by 1 inch. So 1 inch by 1 inch die cut, or maybe a chipboard circle that I might have on hand. So here's our first one. Now I'm going to copy that and paste it a couple more times. So I have 4 in total. Then I want to position the bottom one where I want the bottom one to go, and the top one where I want the top one to go. Maybe the bottom one can go a little bit further down. That's probably good. And then I can select all 4 of them at the same time and use the spacing tools at the top. This one right here that's got the little bar, in the thicker bar between the 2 thinner bars, that makes sure that everything is evenly spaced vertically. So I'm going to click on that, and it's going to adjust my circles so that they are evenly spaced. Then I'm going to come over and click on my text tool, and I'm going to create a text box that will live next to my circle. I might want this to go a little bit higher, maybe like that. Let's left justify the text, bring this down to maybe a 10-point font, just so we can get an idea of what it will look like with the smaller text. Hit enter, and that looks good. Now I can go ahead, click on my text box, copy it, and paste it, and we're going to add these next to each of the circles. Right there, and then we're going to make sure this one's in the middle. Line it up in the middle, that looks good. And there are my text boxes. Now I could totally add these circles at the top of the boxes, like so, and then extend the boxes of text a little bit longer so there's less space in between them. Let's see, there. There. And it looks like we are not quite even, so I'm going to bring the bottom one up a little bit, select all 4 of those text boxes, and let's evenly distribute them. And then I can adjust wherever I need to adjust. Looks like right there. All right. And that is our layer template. So we have a place to put 4 different pictures, a place to put 4 different circle embellishments, and a place for 4 different blocks of text. Now let's say I wanted to print out the right page here. So let's crop this and get rid of the left side. So we're going to make this 4.25 by 8.25. 300 pixels per inch. I'm going to move my crop bar over to the right side so I only have my journaling page. We're going to hit enter, and it's going to get rid of the rectangles where I would put the photos. Now if I were to print this out, type in my real journaling, and then print it out and add on a circle embellishment from my physical stash, I might not want these circles to be printed in black, because if I accidentally put my embellishment slightly off to the side, then the black is going to be extremely visible. So usually what I do in this case is I pick a very, very light gray color and I make sure that I do not have a stroke on. So now when I click off of the circle, you can still see the shadow of it there on the page. But once I put down an embellishment on top of it, then let's do, stroke, I want no stroke, and fill. Once I put the embellishment on top of the circle, even if I add it slightly off to the side or askew, it'll be much more difficult to see the color that's printed behind it. One of the nice things about printing your circle in a very light color like this is it does give you an exact placement of where to add everything on your page. So oftentimes I will do something like this. Same if, let's actually bring this back to where I've got the photos on here. Same with the photos. So if I am printing some kind of template, maybe I print this entire piece out on a piece of 8.5 by 11 inch cardstock, and I'm going to print my photos on glossy photo paper in order to have the difference in texture between my cardstock and my glossy paper. I would do the same thing with my rectangles. I would also print them with a very light gray shade so that when I print off my photos and trim them out and stick them down, they're going to fit exactly in this space and it's going to be placed exactly where I want it to be on the page. Okay, so let's do this one more time. This time, let's create a layout that is a, what do I want to do here? Let's do a 6 by 8. For this one, let's do a text box at the bottom, maybe a line of pattern paper that's going to go in between the text and the photos, and then let's do a collage of 6 square photos at the top. So starting with the text box, I'm going to go ahead and add something to the bottom here. This is where the journaling for our story is going to go. So I will copy that and paste it just so we can see what this is going to look like. Next, what I'm going to do is create a rectangle. I want to go ahead and turn my stroke off. I don't want a stroke, but I will keep the fill on. And then I'm going to create a small strip that will go across my page, and this is going to be my pattern paper. So it's just a designator or a placeholder for where some pattern paper is going to go. After that, we're going to create our 6 photos that are going to be more square in shape. So maybe what I want to do is I've got quite a bit more space than I was thinking, but that's okay. Let's go 1.75 by 1.75 inches. We're gonna hit, nope, I made pixels, whoops. Try that again. 1.75 inches by 1. Goodness, I can't do this, can I? Okay, 1.75 inches by 1.75 inches. And there's our square. So now what I'm going to do is move this into place, and then we're going to do the same thing with copying and pasting. So we'll copy it and paste it. I'll add this to the edge here, paste another one, we'll put that in the middle. So I think I'm going to have more room. That looks good. Let's do another group of 3. And I'm just eyeballing it to see if I can get my spacing to look similar enough. So there are the spots for 6 different photos. Let's move the pattern paper closer to the photos, and then we can maybe make our text box bigger. And one other thing I thought is perhaps we want to use some kind of stamp. So I'm going to create a rectangle here that's going to stand for a title or a stamp. And I'm actually going to use my text tool, change my text to white so I can read it on top of the square. And I'm going to say title, alpha stickers or stamps. There we go. So this is going to help me determine where things are going to go. So photo, 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 photo. This right here, I can also put a little text box in to say pattern paper, just so I remember what this is. The title with alpha stickers or stamps, and then my text box for journaling underneath that. And here we are with another layer template. The cool thing about layer templates like these is that you can use them for any story. It doesn't have to be super specified. It doesn't even have to be created for specific product. Although a lot of times when I am creating layer templates, it is using specific products that I have story planned, and now I'm just trying to create my designs that I'm going to use for my layouts. Let's go ahead over to Photoshop Elements and do the same thing in that program. First, let's close out of this and then we'll go. So let's start again with that Traveler's Notebook size page. So we'll go New Blank File. I want this to be 8.5 by 8.25. Then I'm going to add a guideline into the middle of the page so I can see where the page is technically separated into two. On the left-hand side, I'm going to use my shape tool, select the rectangle. I want this to be 2 inches by 4 inches, and we'll go ahead and add that on here. Then we can move it into place. Then I can add another one. Move that one into place. Then another one. We'll move that one into place. And we'll just keep repeating this until we have all of the components on the page. One more. Okay, so we have our 4 different pictures. For the right-hand side, I'm going to go back to my shape tool, change over to the ellipse. For this one, we're going to make it 1 inch by 1 inch. And then we can click on here and then move this where we want it to go. Yep, and then we'll do it again. I actually might just put all of them on there for ease, the sake of ease. And then we can stack these all in a row. Once we have them where we like them, we can highlight all 4 of those circles, and we're going to distribute evenly from the top. Okay. And then the last thing I need to do here is add in my text boxes. So we'll do one there. I'm going to come over to my layers panel and duplicate this layer. Then I can move it where I want it to go. We can duplicate it again, move that one into place, and then duplicate it one more time, and move that one into place, like so. If I were doing this one for real, I would probably really need to distribute these a little bit differently. So maybe move that journaling up, change the positioning, and then change the positioning of these circles so they match and are aligned on the top of the journaling. And then we could do the same thing where we print this all out. We can change the color of these circles to a different color so that they are not black and could be, you know, a nice light gray instead, making them easier to adhere stuff on top of it without having to worry about seeing the black underline underneath. Same with the rectangles. We can also change the sizes of those by selecting the shape layer, going back to the shape tool, and then just picking a different color. But ultimately, our layer template here would be completed. If we were to work on the second one that we tried there, so I need a 6 by 8. For this one, we added the, let's start with this. So I want my width to be 6 inches and my height to be maybe 1/4 of an inch. So we'll add this on here. This is going to be our pattern paper. Then we'll create our 6 boxes that will end up being pictures. Actually, they're not going to be 2 by 2. I want them to be 1.75 by 1.75. Then we'll add them. Okay, so there's one. We're just going to move it into place. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That will make it easier on me. Okay, so then we've got 2. We can distribute these from the, no, I want to distribute them from the left edge maybe. That looks good. Then we'll add the next set of them in. 2 and 3. So they do not seem like they're in the middle. So let's adjust that. There we go. So we've got the 6 boxes at the top. We've got the pattern paper underneath. Let's go ahead and create a new box. And for this one, I want to be unconstrained, so I can create whatever shape I want. That's going to be our title box. And then we need to do a text box underneath to add in our journaling. And that is how this one would look. So then we could save this as a layer template to use for whatever story we wanted to tell. So creating your own layer templates is the hardest part, I would say, about creating a layer template is figuring out in your own mind's eye what you want your page to look like. Oftentimes I start by sketching out an idea for where things are going to be placed, where I want my photos to go, my text to go, my embellishments to go, because then I can come into my Photoshop programs and create that using shapes and text boxes and all of that good stuff before I actually put my photos and my journaling and all of that into them. One of the biggest benefits to using layer templates is simply being able to repeat the same shapes or the same designs over and over and over again without having to recreate the wheel every single time. I also personally like to create my own layer templates so that when I create a layout for sharing online, I can share some of the layer templates, making it easier for my pages to be replicated by other people. That's another reason why I might make them. But in the general scale, I still think that they can be so beneficial to making scrapbooking easier, especially if you're creating the same pages multiple times throughout the year. I hope that you have enjoyed seeing how these layer templates come together when you are creating them yourself. This is technically the last lesson where I'm showing you how to use these shapes to help you plan out your projects. Next week, I'm going to be back with our very last Photoshop/Photoshop Elements lesson, where we're going to talk about bringing it all together. So bringing everything we've learned throughout the course of this class together to create a layout inside of Photoshop and inside of Photoshop Elements. Specifically, I'm going to put together a layout for one of my story kits from Ali Edwards. Most likely it's going to be a 6x8 or a 12x12 layout. And then in Photoshop Elements, we'll put together a week of project life. So we'll plan out the entire layout, we'll add in the embellishments, we'll work with some stamps to get everything ready to go for that layout. So all I have to do is print everything out and stick it down in real life. So I'm going to show you that process next week. And then next month is going to be kind of a bonus lesson, so to say, where I'm going to show you how Photoshop and Photoshop Elements can integrate with Silhouette Studio to create cut files. So we're going to be looking a lot at cut files throughout the last 4 lessons of this class. For now, what I would love for you to do is to try and replicate the 2 layer templates that I created in our lesson today. So working on a spread that is 8.5 by 8.25, where half of the layout is a collage of 4 photos and the other half of the layout is embellishments in a listed form with journaling next to it. And then the second layer template, where the size is a 6x8 with 6 boxes at the top to add in your photos, a strip for pattern paper, a section for your title, and then a journaling block underneath that. So I'd love for you to replicate these 2 designs in whichever program you use so you can get a feel for creating these layer templates, and hopefully that will spark the joy of creating these for projects in the future for you as well. Until next time, friends, I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day, and I will see you in the next lesson.